Oh, 1965. The year the Beatles went full Dylan, Dylan went full electric, and the Fugs went whatever they did. Today we're talking about the Fugs' first album, called exactly that. This is an LP so raw and so weird and deeply countercultural for the time. It makes your parents' worst hippie nightmare look like a Bob Ross painting. Let's talk about it. So, who were the Fugs? Let's start with the lineup. First, we have Ed Sanders, a poet, an author of a book on the Manson family, and a man who once printed out a magazine on a mimeograph machine in a New York City subway station. He was the founder of the investigative poetry movement, and he yodeled. And then there's the oldest member of the band. Uh, Hello, I'm Tuli Kupferberg. He was already in his 40s by the time the Fugs started. Tuli is mentioned in Allen Ginsberg's poem Howl as, quote, person who jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge and walked away unknown and forgotten into the ghostly days of Chinatown, soup alleyways, and fire trucks, not even one free beer. Well, Tuli did jump off a bridge at one point, but it was the Manhattan Bridge. And a tugboat picked him up, fished him out of the water. He had a broken back, but he recovered. He was very well known in anarcho-pacifist circles at the time. And rounding out the main trio is Ken Weaver, a Texan. He was the drummer and sort of the chaos enabler. Before the Fugs, he was a Russian translator in the Air Force. And he eventually did a book with R. Crumb doing the drawings. The book was called Texas Crude, and it was about Texas slang, and it's hilarious. If you can find a copy, I recommend searching it out. Also in the lineup on this album are Peter Stampfel and Steve Weber of the Holy Modal Rounders, another wacky New York band who contributed a song to this album about their appreciation of female attributes called Boobs a Lot. Now, the Fugs' first album, which is called the Fugs' First Album, it's what happens when you mix poetry, free jazz, protest music, and a healthy disregard for musical convention. The Fugs got their name from a euphemism that Norman Mailer was forced to use in his book, The Naked and the Dead, or his publisher wouldn't publish it. And the result of that was a band that sounded like the Lower East Side of New York climbed out of a dumpster and started a band. J. Edgar Hoover actually kept a file on the Fugs after someone wrote him a letter which contained a copy of the Fugs' first album, calling it the most vulgar thing the human mind could ever conceive. I can think of worse. So let's look at some of the album's highlights, or at least the most legally memorable moments. The opening track, of course, is Slum Goddess from the Lower East Side. Ba-doo-doo-wow is a doo-wop love song, sort of. It's about a guy's love for this hippie goddess from the Lower East Side named Sherry, who has questionable attributes. Then there's Supergirl, a song that asks the question, what if Superman's girlfriend had a theme song? And what if that song was written by two guys who probably hadn't slept in 3 days? It was written by Tuli Kupferberg. And then there was Boobs a Lot, contributed by Peter Stample and Steve Weber of the Holy Modal Rounders. It's just a song about boobs, really. How much I Couldn't Get High is an anthem of tragic proportions. Imagine a 1960s drug song, but ending with a public service announcement. Nothing is an existentially horrifying song by Tuli Kupferberg. It has less than 15 words, and most of those words are in Spanish or Yiddish, which was Tuli's first language. Then there are two songs which were combinations of music from Ed Sanders and poems by the poet William Blake. These are called Ah, Sunflower, Weary of Time, and How Sweet I Roamed from Field to Field. Then Sanders made another one from a poem by Algernon Charles Swinburne, a poem from the 19th century English. And it's called, of course, Swinburne Stomp. My Baby Done Left Me has an alternate title. I Feel Like Homemade Shit. The guy's girl named Clara June splits, and she left him even though he swore he would go to church with her. He'd buy a suit from Sears and Roebuck and give up some of his more questionable hobbies. And there's yodeling at the end, courtesy of Ed Sanders. Seize the Day is also known as Carpe Diem. It's basically death is coming, so why not make hay while the sun shines? Another philosophical masterpiece from Tuli Kupferberg. Now, by this time you might be wondering, did the Fugs change or influence music forever? Did they redefine rock, inspire generations of musicians? Yes and no. They were the godfathers of punk, performance art, and musical satire. They made Frank Zappa look pretty tame. And they paved the way for the Sex Pistols, the Dead Kennedys, every other band that asked, what if music was an inside joke? So, should you listen to the Fugs' first album? Absolutely. Should you expect traditional musical talent? No. But you should expect a surreal, hilarious, and often horrifying glimpse into the underground scene of 1965. That, dear viewer, is guaranteed. This album is a countercultural artifact, a historical document, and a musical middle finger. 5 stars. Would recommend. So if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. What's your favorite Fugs song? Leave it in the comments. We all want to know. So I will see you in the next one.